Hi friends, today we'll discuss the remaining graphs in the nerve muscle experiment. So this is the part 2 video. Let's get started. Here the first graph is genesis of fatigue. What do you mean by fatigue? Suppose we are writing continuously. After some times we will be exhausted. We can't write any more further. This is because our muscles are fatigued. So fatigue is a reduction in the working capacity because of the prolonged exertion. How we are taking the effect of fatigue here in the experiment? It is by giving stimulus repeatedly with same strength in the same point. Okay, now we'll see the graph of the fatigue. This will be the first response. This is just simple muscle twitch graph. This will be the point of stimulus. Then this is the latent period, and contraction period, relaxation period, and coming the physiological curve. Okay, now we'll be again stimulating with the same strength, same point. We get response like this. So here the force of contraction is increasing. Then again we are giving stimulus, again force of contraction is increasing. So in the first three responses, the force of contraction will be increased. That is called beneficial effect. So the force increase in the force of contraction is because of the beneficial effect. Beneficial effect we already discussed in the last video. Here second and third response is getting benefited because of the first response. Okay. Now later we continue to give the stimulus with the same strength, same point. What will be the effect? Yes, the force of contraction will keep on reducing with increased latent period and prolonged contraction period, relaxation period. Okay, so that is the effect of fatigue. So in fatigue, the muscle cannot able to work for continuously. So first three responses because of the beneficial effect. Then force of contraction will be reduced, increase in the latent period, contraction and relaxation phase will be prolonged. Here you can see the baseline is raised here. So suppose this is our normal baseline. Okay. But here later if we are keep on giving stimulus, what will happen? This baseline is shifted upwards. Okay. And that is called contraction reminder. That is called contraction reminder. If we are giving stimulus continuously, the baseline will be raised. That is called contraction reminder. Why there is contraction reminder? It is because of the inadequate and incomplete relaxation. As you can see here, 40th and 50th stimulus, this is not coming to the relaxation phase. There will be incomplete relaxation. Okay, so that is why the contraction reminder is happening. So that is the fatigue beneficial effect in the first three responses. Later we can see the raise in baseline, that is called the contraction reminder. And this is the genesis of fatigue graph. So this will be the graph you will be getting in the question paper. Here beneficial effect in the first three contraction. Later there will be decrease in the amplitude or force of contraction, prolongation of the relaxation period, latent period and the contraction period. Then the relaxation will be inadequate and incomplete. Because of that there will be contraction reminder. That is nothing but the raise in the baseline. So this is the genesis of fatigue. Now we'll see the important questions. What is fatigue? So it is a temporary reduction in the working capacity of a cell or organ or an organism or as a whole, which results from prolonged exertion. If we are stimulating our muscle for a long time, there will be exertion. And this is a reversible one. Yes, if the muscle is allowed to rest for a few minutes, the recovery will be there. Then again, the muscle can able to work. Okay, so that is the fatigue. What is contraction reminder? So the baseline will be raised due to an incomplete relaxation of the muscle following the depletion of the ATP. So here the incomplete relaxation is because of the inadequate ATP. As a result, the writing point is not coming to the original position. This is called the contraction reminder. Next, what are the causes of fatigue? This is again important question. It is because of the depletion in the acetylcholinate neuromuscular junction. If we are keep on working means there will be depletion of the acetylcholine. Then this fatigue is depends on the type of fiber, muscle fiber. So we have two type of muscle fibers, slow and fast fibers. Okay, so if it is slow fibers, the fatigue will be slow. If it is fast fiber, fatigue will be fast. Then because of hypoxia, that is reduction in the oxygen. Then because of the accumulation of the lactic acid, pyruvate, carbon dioxide and byproducts of ATP. So because of all this, muscles will be get fatigued. What are the sides of the fatigue? That is also important. Synapse in the brain, then neuromuscular junction, then the motor end plane. These are the main side for fatigue, and synapse in the brain is the first site for the fatigue. What are the causes of recovery? So if we are allowing the muscle to rest for a few minutes, the recovery will be there. What are the causes? So again in this time duration, there will be secretion of fresh acetylcholine, removal of this waste metabolites like carbon dioxide, pyruvate and lactic acid. All this will be removed. Then there will be supply of the fresh nutrition. We can fasten the recovery by replacing the fresh ringer solution in this experimental setup. If we got fatigue in the muscle in this experiment, we can use a fresh Ringo solution. So the recovery will be fastened. So we can do another experiments. Why does the athlete run the initial part of his race slowly and speed up only towards the finish? That is because if he speed up at the beginning, he draws on his anaerobic resources to provide the energy. Then fatigue will be getting earlier due to the accumulation of the lactic acid and other metabolites. So that is why the athletes will not run faster during the initial point. The next graph is this one. This is genesis of tetanus. What do you mean by tetanus? Tetanus is sustained contraction of the muscle because of the higher frequency stimulus. If we are giving continuous stimulus with high frequency, what is happening? There will be sustained contraction of the muscle, and that is called tetanus. So in this graph, we have four components. So first one, this is called treppe. The second one is called clonus. Third one is called incomplete tetanus, and fourth one is the complete tetanus. So we'll discuss each one by one. So first one is this, that is a treppe, or it is also called staircase phenomenon. So as you can see in this graph, it is somewhat like a staircase. The responses are keep on increasing. That is why this is called staircase phenomenon. So here what is happening? We are giving stimulus continuously. The frequency of stimulus is around 5 per second. That means we are giving 5 stimuli per second. So what will happen? There is no time in between. So the next stimuli is falling during the relaxation phase of the previous stimuli. We already discussed the effect of successive stimuli in muscle contraction in the previous video. What will happen if the stimuli is falling during the relaxation period? Yes, there will be increase in the force of contraction. That is because of the beneficial effect. Obviously, there will be increase in the force of contraction in the first 2 or 3 contraction. Again, if we are continuously stimulating, means again the force of contraction will come down. Okay, so this phenomenon is called treppe. If we are stimulating continuously around 5 stimulus per second, first 2-3 contraction will be higher because of the beneficial effect, then it will come to down. You have to note one point here. The relaxation is complete here. That means force of contraction is increasing, then it is coming back to relaxation phase, and again contraction phase, then coming to relaxation phase, then contraction and relaxation phase. So here relaxation phase is there and it is complete. So this is called treppe. Next one is this, that is called clonus. So what is happening here? The frequency of stimulus is around 10 per second. That means we are giving 10 stimulus per second. So there is no time gap in between. The stimuli we are giving will be falling in the mid-relaxation phase of the previous one. So what will happen? The relaxation will be incomplete. Again, because of the beneficial effect, force of contraction will be increased. What about the relaxation period? It is not coming to the baseline. It is not complete. It is incomplete. This graph is called clonus. Then next one is tetanus, the incomplete and complete tetanus. Okay. Here the frequency of stimulus is around 30 to 40 seconds. Again, there is no time gap in between the stimuli. So what will happen? Successive stimuli may fall during the contraction phase of the previous stimuli. So as we already discussed, what will happen if the second stimuli is falling during the contraction phase? Yes, there will be summation. So here the contraction phase are summed up. and the force of contraction is more. But what about the relaxation period? Relaxation is inadequate. Okay, so according to that, we have two type of tetanus. That one is incomplete tetanus and complete tetanus. In incomplete tetanus, we are giving 30 stimuli per second. Here there will be relaxation, but it is incomplete. So you can see here it is coming to relaxation, but it is incomplete. It is not coming to baseline. It is incomplete. Okay, so this is called incomplete tetanus because of the incomplete relaxation. Coming to the complete tetanus, here there is no relaxation at all because we are giving around 40 stimuli per second. There is no time to relax also. So there is no relaxation. There will be sustained and continuous contraction only. So that is called tetanus. Tetanus is what? Tetanus is the sustained contraction of the muscle because of the continuous high frequency stimulus. That is the tetanus. So now we'll see the questions. Why the cardiac muscle cannot be tetanized? Yes, cardiac muscle will not be getting tetanized. All other muscles will be tetanized. Why? It is because of the longer refractory period. So cardiac muscle is having a very long refractory period. So that is why it will not be tetanized. What are the difference between tetanus and tetani? And this is very, very, very important question. What is tetanus? It is a state of sustained contraction of the muscle. When coming to the nerve muscle preparation, if we are giving higher frequency stimulus, there will be sustained contraction. So that is called the tetanus. What is tetani? It is occur due to hypocalcemia. If the calcium ions is reduced, it will cause the neuromuscular hyperexcitability. It is secondary to the increase in the membrane permeabilities to the sodium. So here, usually in the sodium potassium pump, calcium ions will be come and binding in normal state. If there is no calcium, this will not come and bind. So what will happen? Sodium will be permeable inside the membrane. So if more and more sodium is coming into the cell, means what will happen to the cell? There will be hyperexcitability. Okay, so this will lead to the cramps in the extremities due to extensive spasm of the skeletal muscle. There will be extensive spasm, there will be contraction, it will lead to the cramps in the extremities. That is called tetany. Then, what is the pathological tetanus? It is the Clostridium tetani infection followed by an injury. Here, tetanus toxin is released by this bacteria called Clostridium tetani. This will stimulate our motor neuron repeatedly at a higher frequency and there will be continuous contraction. This is the pathological tetanus. And in the severe cases, all the skeletal muscles of the body will be affected. So this is the pathological tetanus. So you should know what is tetanus, what is tetany, and what is pathological tetanus. All these three terms you should know. It is very important. Now the next one is the determination of the conduction velocity of the sciatic nerve. Here we are calculating the conduction velocity of the nerve we taken, that is the sciatic nerve. How to calculate this? We have an equation. Velocity of conduction is equal to S by T. What is S? It is the distance traveled and T is the time taken by the nerve impulse. And it will be expressed in meter per second. We can convert centimeter to meter and express the velocity. What are the factors which will affect the conduction velocity? Yes, myelination and the diameter of the nerve fibers. See, nerve fiber having more diameter means the speed will be more. What about the myelination? Yes, if that nerve fiber is myelinated because of the salty tissue conduction, again the speed will be more. So these are the factors which will affect the velocity, conduction velocity. Now we'll see how to calculate the conduction velocity of this sciatic nerve. We have to record the simple muscle twitch after stimulating the nerve at muscle end and the vertebral end. What do you mean by this? Suppose this is the nerve. Okay, so nerve will be having muscle also, somewhat like this. So this is the muscle and this is the nerve. Okay, so this nerve we are stimulating. Okay, this nerve is having two ends here. This is the vertebral end, this is the muscle end. Here we have to give stimulus on to both ends. First to the vertebral end, then to the muscle end. And we have to record the graph. So what will be the graph we'll be getting? So this is the graph we'll be getting. Okay, this is the point of stimulus and this is the V graph and M graph, that is vertebral end graph and muscle end graph. We are stimulating the muscle end. What is happening? Latent period is reducing. Okay, force of contraction is increasing. Why? It is because So this is vertebral and the muscle end. When we are stimulating the vertebral end, there will be time taken for the impulse to reach the muscle. But if we are stimulating the muscle end, the distance is less. So we'll be getting the response earlier. So that is the difference. From this graph, we have to calculate the conduction velocity by the equation. Conduction velocity is equal to S by T, distance by time taken. So here the distance we have to calculate from this graph, and the time taken we have to calculate by this time traces. Then we will get the conduction velocity of the sciatic nerve. And what is the normal conduction velocity of the frog sciatic nerve? The normal is around 40 meter per second. Next question, what are the factors affecting the nerve conduction velocity? The diameter of the nerve fiber, presence or absence of the myelination, temperature will also affect. If the temperature is more, means there will be faster conduction. Then conducting media in which the nerve is placed, and proximity of the RMB to the threshold. Next question, what is the clinical implication of this experiment? This is very important. What is the need of us to do? It is very important to trace the recovery of the nerve injury, and it is very useful to assess the extent of the damage done to a nerve due to the trauma or in a demyelination disorder. Now the last graph, that is effect of load. Here we have to take the effect of preload and also the afterload. What is mean by preload or preload? Pre means before. So what is preload? We are giving the load before muscle contraction. So there will be stretching of the muscle. Okay, there will be stretching of the muscle. Muscle will be stretched. So this is the normal muscle. So this muscle will be stretched if we are giving preload. Okay, so muscle stretching means what will happen? Length of the muscle. Length of the muscle is increasing here. Okay, so what is the law relating to this? Yes, that is Starling's law. So according to Starling's law, force of contraction is directly proportional to the initial length of the muscle. Okay, so here actual contraction is not yet started, but we are giving load and the stretching of muscle will be happen. So the length of the muscle is increasing before contraction. So that is the initial length of the muscle. Here the initial length is increased. So what will happen to force of contraction? Force of contraction will also get increased. Okay, so that is the graph. This is the afterload graph and this is the preload graph. So in preloaded graph, yes, the force of contraction is increased because of the increase in the initial length of the muscle, because of the stretching of the muscle, because we give load prior to the contraction. So that is the effect of preload. What will happen to afterload? What is an afterload? This is a load we are giving after the muscle start to contract. What will be the effect? There is no stretching because the muscle is already stretched here. What will happen to the length? Initial length is no change in the initial length. Okay, so the force of contraction will be in the normal only. This is the normal force of contraction, and in preload force of contraction increased. So that is the effect of the load. So in preloaded condition, height of contraction increasing, latent period is decreasing. What is happening in the afterloaded condition? Height of contraction is decreasing, latent period is increasing. Coming to the question, what is a free load? Free load or preload? So in free loaded condition, the load acts on the muscle before it began to contract. So stretching of the muscle will be there prior to the contraction. So because of the stretching, the initial length of the muscle fiber is also increasing. So according to Starling's law, force of contraction is directly proportional to initial length of the muscle fibers within physiological limit. Because of this, there will be increase in the force of contraction. Example, continuous contraction of the anti-gravity muscle to maintain the body posture. Next, what is afterload? Afterload is the condition in which load start acting on the muscle after the contraction actually begins. Hence, there will not be stretching. Example is lifting of a weight from a ground under normal condition. So that is the end of this class. So here in the nerve muscle experiment, we discussed around 8 graphs. So all these 8 graphs are very important. So thank you.